wants to find me. I'll be in the last place you would look, in a place where people used to be, a land that's called reality. You'll find me there. I won't be catching up on Reddit. I won't be watching any news. I'll let the planet spin without me, 'cause everything has been without me sometime. And everyone will be alright if I'm not live by satellite. It's a beautiful day, I'm running away, don't bother to face.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Film Box Podcast. Have you ever wanted to listen to a couple guys in their 20s go in-depth on your favorite movie, spanning back from before they were born all the way to the modern day? Do you want to know once and for all which movie in a given genre going back the last 40 plus years reigns supreme? Well, on this podcast, we review films from each decade within a certain genre and compare them in a bracket-style challenge to see which film comes out on top and is declared the champion. I'm your host, Aaron Susan, and I'm joined this episode by just my good friend and fellow Nightmare Fuel companion, Mr. Connor Jameson. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry to disappoint everyone.
What are you talking about? This is a classic horror. Wait, we're not doing the original.
No.
So, in keeping with our theme of doing a movie from each decade, we have decided this week to do the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise and not do the good ones, but do the 2010 one. And it makes all of us very sad. Yeah.
So last week we talked about Scream, how that kind of saved the slasher genre. Well,
this might have killed it.
It didn't last too long, because once we hit the 2000s, it was reboot, remake city.
Yeah.
We had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre back in 2003, House of Wax in 2005, same with Amityville Horror. You've got The Omen, Black Christmas, Hills Have Eyes, all in 2006. Oh, and the terrible Wicker Man with Nick Cage. And then we have Friday the 13th remake, which was a good one, in 2009. And yeah, as you could tell, there were so many. People just ran out of ideas, I think.
Yeah, it was just kind of like an era of, hey, that was popular and we need money. Let's do it again.
Yeah, it feels like they were just waiting for these movies to get old enough where they could just dust them off and be like, hey, yeah, remember this? Why don't you watch it again? But not the good one. Ours.
Yeah. So I also want to point out, and I will get into this a little bit later more specifically, probably in about 5 minutes. I can trace a lot of these remakes back to one person, or specifically a team of people. Mm-hmm. And I will point that out when we get there. But yes, now that you mention all these remakes and things started clicking in my head, yes, okay, this is perfect. So, before we get into diving deep into this film, first, we need to go over the production. We need to go over all that stuff. But even before that, I want to ask you, Connor, do you remember when you first saw this film?
So, funny enough, so this came out in 2010. So I was like 11. When I first saw the trailer, I was scared shitless. I was like, oh my God, like I'm literally having nightmares. Like it's working.
It's working.
And
the movie's doing what it's supposed to. It's giving me nightmares.
Yeah, it's doing its name. But I didn't end up seeing it for like another couple years, because I was 11. I wasn't gonna see a slasher. And I didn't really have like internet access, so I couldn't like find it anywhere. But then when I did see it, I was like, this scared the shit out of me.
It's like, what?
Man, Lil Me was a bitch.
So, funny enough, you can now see this movie if you have an HBO Max subscription. So if you have that, you can watch this movie included with your subscription. And not that I recommend you should, but you can.
It's an option.
And even better, you could watch this movie, but at least you don't have to watch it twice, which is what I did in 3 days. I watched it twice just for this episode.
Same.
And yeah.
Not happy about it.
No, I was sad after the first viewing, and then I was even more depressed when I had to figure out that I had to watch it again. All right, well, let's get into the production notes of this thing so we can get things moving along. So, This movie was released April 30th, 2010. So not technically a 2000s decade movie, but it was in that era. It was close enough to that era that we counted it, and we didn't want to do another like Friday the 13th. We wanted to keep like the major genres together.
We wanted to hit our Mount Rushmore of characters. So we already knocked out Jason. We knocked out Ghostface. It's Freddy's turn.
Yeah, and then next week we'll be looking at another one that's really particularly not very fun. But yeah, well,
we'll get
actually no. You know what? We talked about this. We're doing Halloween 2018 next time. We're not doing Halloween Ends. We'll do a bonus episode for Halloween Ends where we can yell at it all we want. But for the actual review, I want to do a good one. Please.
I'm going to leave my thoughts unknown.
Oh God. Well, if you have looked at our website, I wrote a review about Halloween Ends, so you can see how I felt about it. Uh-huh. Anyways, this movie was 1 hour and 36 minutes, which was about 1 hour and 30 minutes too long. And it was directed by a man named Samuel Bayer. Now, does that name come to like? Do you recognize that name at all, Connor?
I barely recognize my own name. Somehow.
Okay, well, the good thing, because Samuel Bayer's only other credit for directing a feature-length film is a Green Day documentary.
Oh, I've definitely never seen that.
Everything else, he's a very prominent music video director. He's done a ton of music videos, but he's only directed 2 feature-length films, a Green Day documentary and Nightmare on Elm Street.
No wonder Michael Bay wanted him.
Yeah, I just don't like. This is a huge franchise that you're rebooting. Why do you go and get someone who literally has never directed a movie before ever to do it? Oh God. Anyways, so speaking of producers, this movie was produced by Michael Bay, Andrew Form, and Brad Fuller, who are the 3 people that I'm linking all of these remakes to because they also did Friday the 13th, 2009, Texas Chainsaw 03, A Quiet Place, which I was very surprised that they did. But like all of these big time remakes in the 2000s, these 3 were producing.
Yeah, for Platinum Dunes. You know, it's funny because like the 2003 Texas Chainsaw wasn't bad. Mm-hmm. Friday the 13th was pretty good in my opinion.
Yeah, right.
And then they just like phoned it in here.
Yeah. They also produced The Purge. And then obviously Michael Bay has done a lot more. He's done Transformers and all of his other stuff. Yeah. But also written by Wesley Strick, who is famous for writing Cape Fear, Arachnophobia, and The Saint.
Arachnophobia scared the shit out of me to this day.
Well, you can thank Wesley Strick for that.
I'll thank the spiders for that.
And then Eric Heiserer wrote The Thing from 2011, not the good one.
Yeah, another bad remake.
Bird Box, which was okay, solid, not great, not bad. And then the really good Arrival with Jeremy Renner
and Amy Adams.
Yes.
Give their respect.
Yes. And so, with a box office budget of estimated around $35 million, this movie on this opening weekend grossed 32.9 and had a worldwide gross of 115.6. So you can't say it wasn't profitable, but profitable doesn't mean good. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. If you recall my my hot take about that. Proved right once again.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Sam is not here today, obviously, to give us the Rotten Tomato reviews and scores and trivia and all that fun stuff. But in the interim, Connor, you'll be taking that over for him.
Yeah. So we've kind of been hinting this is not a good movie.
No.
The critics agreed. They gave it a 14%.
That's really bad. 14%?
In 184 reviews. But the audience did give it a 43. With
oh boy.
Better. But it is funny. The critics' consensus is that it's visually faithful, but lacking the depth and subversive twists that made the original so memorable.
Yeah, that sounds... Yep.
It lives up to its title in the worst way possible.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Consensus, critically, it's a nightmare for everyone.
But And yeah, the reviews I found were not that different. It is funny though. I did find one review off Rotten Tomatoes that was positive, and when I went to go read the entire thing, it had been taken down.
Wow. So, I mean, maybe even less than a 14.
Yeah. But we'll start with a good review off IMDb because I wanted to get how the people, the blue collar, if you will, thought about it.
All right.
This one from Critter 1223. Okay, a lot of people hate remakes. I, on the other hand, love them. They bring the classics to the people of this generation where we can actually watch them without laughing. I tried to watch the original from 1980s and it was laughable. Bad acting, wow. The blood was so fake it looked like juice, and the dialogue was so bad a third grader could have written it. This, however, was smart, scary, suspenseful, gory, surprising, and a great movie altogether. Respectfully, I disagree.
Did we watch the same movie?
Yeah. It doesn't get better. Yes, it's a remake, and yes, I liked it more than the original. It stuck to the original without copying it completely. Once again, I must say, did you watch the original?
Yeah, right. Like,
remakes are some of the best things ever because it brings the old classics to this generation, and you would probably only like the original better if you grew up with it.
Well,
wholeheartedly disagree.
Yeah, no. I was born over 10 years after the original, and can confirm it's better than this.
Mm-hmm. Our 1-star review comes from Corpus Vile. I don't really have the heart to review this with any enthusiasm, except to say it's awful. I mean, I went in with low expectations after seeing the god-awful clip, but it still managed to take me aback with its crappiness, which is bizarrely impressive.
Yeah, say that's about right.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty in line with how we feel.
Yeah, I also have a few reviews here.
Oh, lovely.
So, usually, like we do, if you've been listening to these reviews, and even if you're brand new here, so we usually play the trailer for this movie before we get into the actual review. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I was looking at the comments underneath this trailer on YouTube. I don't care what anyone says. I love this movie. I didn't mind the remake at all. One of my favorite horror movies. I really like this movie. I like it because compared to the original, this to me has a better story. Controversially, but I love this remake. I love the original film so much, and this remake wasn't bad as a film on its own. A pretty good horror movie. Like, just dozens of these kind of comments. And I'm like, people, are we watching the same? Did you give this a rating based on the trailer?
Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And as I said,
opinions are wrong.
This trailer did scare the shit out of me. So, if I did see this trailer, I probably would be like, holy shit, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen.
So many people, though, were like, it's a good movie. It's like, did we watch the same one?
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, let's get us some
up?
Trivia.
Oh.
I got some trivia. We got to get the trivia first, and then we'll get the trailer.
So, I will keep it brief. Freddy's sweater was knitted by a woman named Judy Graham, who also knitted the sweater from the original back in '84.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah, nice continuity.
Yeah, I like that.
Not nice for continuity. Wes Craven had no involvement with this remake and wasn't even aware it was being made until deep into production. And
yikes.
He did not like that at all. Was very expressive with how he was unhappy with it.
Yeah, hey guys, if you're going to remake a movie and you don't talk to the creator of the film franchise, you messed up somewhere along the line.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happened with like the Child's Play remake that was recent. Like I think they went to Don Mancini and they were like, hey, we're going to make this. We don't want you involved at all. We just want to let you know we're doing it.
It's like, nice, guys. Yeah. Nice.
But I guess for a good, more happy note, Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger in the originals, did give Jackie Earle Haley his blessing, and said that he said that the torch has been passed well. Which
I mean, sure. He also said he didn't like this movie at all. No one really liked it. Heather Langenkamp, she played Nancy in the original, was offered a cameo, but rightfully declined. Mm-hmm. She was only going to be in one scene, the beginning. Nice.
Last one, just because I do find this funny. Rooney Mara, who is this movie's Nancy, hated being in this movie so much she almost quit acting. Oh, actually,
wow, that's
You know what? No, that's not the best one. The best one is
that's not the best one.
The producer Brad Fuller said that the movie was a financial success, but the backlash from fans, critics, and the industry professionals were so bad. Platinum Dunes didn't get a phone call for 2 years.
Oh my god!
They didn't make another movie until The Purge in 2013.
Jesus Christ, that's so bad.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So if you think
terrible.
If you think we're harsh, they didn't get a single call.
It's like Platinum Dune, those guys that made Nightmare on Elm Street? No way.
Pass.
We can't call them.
Pass.
Good God.
Yeah, that's something you love to hear.
Yeah. All right. Well, are you ready to watch this trailer, Connor?
Oh yeah, I'm ready to be.
I got some thoughts about this trailer.
All right, you ready?
All right, I am ready. 3, 2, 1, play.
You open this door, Krueger!
What do you think I did? I didn't go in this!
I'm having these dreams. And there's this man. And he's burned.
Fall asleep.
nothing to worry about. This won't hurt one little bit.
All right. So, that happened. I can see how that was scary for you.
I don't remember if that's the first trailer I saw that scared me. It might have been a different one, but because I do remember, I think I was seeing Clash of the Titans, and that's when I first saw the trailer, and I was like, I want to go home.
So there were two shots in that trailer that I don't remember being in the movie at all.
They weren't. I already know which ones you're talking about.
The two of the guy at the pool.
Yeah.
Like, I saw that and I was like, wait a minute. That's not there. And I know some movies do that. Like Rogue One's trailer for Star Wars had a shot that was like very prominent in the trailer and that they didn't include in the movie. But like, I just think that's so funny. It's like, okay, we're releasing a trailer, and then like before you release the movie, it's like, yeah, we didn't actually include that scene. We didn't want to.
Yeah, if you want to see it though, you can buy the director's cut. It's $20 extra.
Don't waste your money. Don't do it. All right, are we ready to get into this movie and go scene by scene or moment by moment,
line by line,
talk about it line by not line by line,
by breath,
Freddy by Freddy, and get this thing going?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do it. Connor, bring us through this movie.
All right, so our opening scene takes place at the Springwood Diner, or the Sprigwood Diner, if they want to fix that sign. And we're introduced to Dean, who is asleep. It's a pretty cool scene of him like just walking around the diner where no one is alive really, and there's just stuff burning. And he gets attacked by Freddy. Ooh, right off the bat. And I also wanted to point out these jump scares in this movie are terrible.
Bad. Real
terrible.
bad.
Super
bad.
Predictable. And they just look horrible. Anywho, we are also introduced to Chris, Quentin, and Jesse, as well as Nancy. And this is going to be our like main squad for this movie.
Mm-hmm. Well,
for parts of this movie. So, Dean is talking to Chris, and he brings up how like he's been having nightmares, and his therapist thinks they're caused by his past. He has like a little freak out, causes Chris to leave to clean herself up, and he falls asleep again. And I did like this, how it was when he falls asleep, it's not super obvious, but you do see like the lighting change.
Mm-hmm.
Did like that. I did not like that weird visual effect where everything is like blurry, except like the circle of focus.
Yeah.
Thought that looked dumb.
Yep.
But yeah, Dean slices his own throat pretty deep right in front of Chris.
One of the worst effects in this film, because you can so tell, like when he's doing it, it's like his hand is just like he's just moving it across. There's no like struggle. You can just see that it's just an empty hand that's going across his neck.
Yeah, he looked pretty deep, but yeah, he dies, and whatever he was paid for this, I hope it was worth it, because I did read that it's in preparation for his role, he didn't sleep for like 3 days, all for 8 minutes of screen time.
Literally. So, opening montage. What do you think of that?
I thought it was all right. I don't know if it was like on purpose, but like a lot of the shadows of like the kids, it looked like the finger knife gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought
it probably was.
Yeah.
I just felt it was like that whole, I don't know, it was one of the tropes in horror movies that I don't like, where it's like the B-roll montage with the spooky music. It's like, it's so cliche.
The music also, I know it's like the nightmare theme.
Mm-hmm.
It does not fit with the tone of this movie. Like it's like it's got too many like positive notes to it.
Yep.
Like the whole point of this movie was to make a scarier version of the original. So remake the theme too to make it darker.
Yeah, right.
Little things could have gone a long way.
I did like the atmosphere of the diner, though. I thought it was kind of a neat, neat atmosphere. And although I will get into this a little later, like just how the movie looks in general. But the Springwood Diner looked good, and jumping immediately into Freddy's dream stuff, like instantly, like boom, we're there. It was an interesting choice.
Oh, that's how the original started too. Like we are in Tina's dream from the original. But yeah, I figured they would probably start like that.
Yeah.
So next we're at Dean's.
First off, how'd you feel about Freddy? Like how he looks?
So
since we get our first real shot of him here.
I wrote down it's an okay new look, because I know they tried to base this look off like an actual like burn victim. So like I don't want to be rude, but like, you know, he didn't have a nose. His face was all like just scarred and like missing parts of his cheek. I thought he looked scary. I would say that scarier than the original.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. I feel like because I'm so used to the original that it's like this look was just so much different that I was like, oh, this is weird. But I was not much of a fan.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the tone. They wanted to make it less campy, less jokes. So yeah,
less jokes, no jokes, no jokes allowed on this film.
Oh, they do allow some jokes. They're just all bad and creepy.
My favorite line, one of my favorite lines in this movie, comes from Chris right at the beginning. Dean, what are you doing? No, stop it, Dean. Dean, stop. It's like, okay, go help the man, and give me some more expression.
Yeah. That's one of the knocks I have with this movie, too. Everyone is so stiff in their acting.
Yep. I literally wrote everything about this, specifically the opening, but like everything about it just feels stale.
Yeah.
Like dialogue, acting, story. It's just like, wow.
Like Rooney Mara, she's a good actress, I would say. She reminded me so much of like Kristen Stewart in Twilight.
Oh god.
Just so like emotionless.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right.
Next scene, we're at Dean's funeral. Chris falls asleep, which is incredibly rude. Especially sitting front and center. But yeah, she sees a version of her younger self with slashes on her. Then she wakes up with a jump scare, because predictable. And all this really does is shows us that she had thought that she met Dean and like all of her other friends in high school, but she saw pictures of young her and young him together. So then there's a really pointless scene that I didn't want to bring up, but because it is drawing on the original so heavy, it's the scene where like Nancy is in her room and Freddy appears in the wall.
Yes.
This is,
it looked so bad.
So bad. And the original was so good because it was practical. They had to do just like press his face and hands into spandex in the wall, and then it just looks so bad.
This looks
CG.
like it reminded me of Aladdin.
I never saw Aladdin.
Like just the idea of, like, it looked like a genie coming out of a wall. Like, I don't know why I get that visual, but that's what it reminded me of. Or like a snake, like one of the snakes from Harry Potter.
You know what it looked like? This might be a deeper cut, but in Freddy versus Jason, there is a pretty bad sequence where there is a it's like a ghost caterpillar with Freddy's face on it.
Yeah,
it looked just like that.
Yep.
Not the things we want to be paying homage to.
No.
Yeah, that scene was pointless. It was just there to call on that scene.
Yep.
So then Chris starts getting attacked by Freddy. First is in her attic, which I also want to point out. I just love the way attic ladders fold out. I don't know why. It's just very visually pleasing.
It's just nothing to do with the movie. I just like ladders, attic ladders.
Yeah, this is now going to just pivot to a ladder podcast.
That's a clip.
And then she falls asleep in class the next day, and we get to see more of him in the light. Which, again, he looks okay, in my opinion.
Yep.
So then...
So, also, I'm just trying to find a good point to cut in on this. Why? And I alluded to this a little bit ago, but this is where I wrote down the note. Why does every one of these remakes make it feel and look like the characters look like straight trailer trash, and the feel of the movie just has that visual feel to it? I can't describe it, but like even with the Rob Zombie Halloweens, Friday the 13th. Well, I mean, Rob Zombie Halloween was real trailer trash,
just straight up trailer trash.
But I don't know. It's just the way that these movies were filmed. I don't know if it was just the visual style of the 2000s horror, but it just makes everything feel like straight trailer trash, and I don't like it at all.
See, my issue is everyone just looks ridiculous. Dean, you're trying to tell me that Dean is in high school. That man's 30.
Yeah, he looks really old.
And then Jesse is emo, it looks like, but he's not emo. Just... Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has an answer for that, but if there's someone, please send us an email. It's thefilmboxpodcast at gmail.com. Tell me why all those movies in the 2000s have that same visual style. Maybe it's the lighting. Maybe it's a combination of lighting and how they're dressed and stuff like that. But everyone looks like trailer trash, and it really pisses me off.
I also just want to point out too, because I don't think I'll get a chance to. Clancy Brown is in this. He's
Mr. Krabs.
Well, he's Quentin's dad, but he is the voice actor for Mr. Krabs. So anytime he spoke in this movie, I just imagine Mr. Krabs.
I did the same thing. I was like, man, where have I recognized that voice before? And then the second time watching, I was like, whoa, it's Mr. Krabs.
It's a great voice.
Yeah, iconic. He's one good part of this movie.
Absolutely. So then after that classroom incident, Chris's mom, she's leaving for a flight because she's a flight attendant, which sets up Chris being alone for the night. What's his name? Jesse is her ex, but he comes to visit her because she had a very, very public freak out in class. Mm-hmm. And here we find out that they're both having the same kind of nightmares about Freddy. So she asks him to spend the night. If you've seen the original, this is very Raw Tina-esque. But then we get that dream sequence, also pretty much straight from the original. She goes outside, sees Freddy, comes back inside, wakes up. This one, she'll wake up, goes to rinse off, and then she comes back and we get the iconic scene from the original, essentially where Freddy's already in the bed. He lifts her up, just smashes her all across the room, and then just cuts deep into her chest, killing her.
I was really surprised about that because really? I knew nothing going into this. I legit thought Chris was the main character.
See,
the trailer set that up that way.
That's what the original did too.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen the original.
Yeah. So I mean, if you've seen the original, you can draw the character ties to everyone. Mm. So I was like, okay, I know who you really are.
I know who you're pretending to be. Mm-hmm. Also, this is where I wrote down a few notes here. Quentin always looks like he's constipated in this movie, or he's about to just start crying.
Yep.
Every time he's on screen, he's got that like sad look on his face, like he just needs to let one out, or he's like just gonna bawl his eyes out for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the director told him to like look emo, and that's what he came up with. But it's so distracting. Every time he's on screen, he's like, "I
hate life, man."
Yeah. Also, I wrote down here, Freddy isn't funny in this movie, question mark.
Yeah, no, he really isn't.
And I was like, oh, that's a little strange.
We'll get to understand a bit more about him, unfortunately, later.
Yeah. That was another big issue I had. But we'll get there. Freddy, even though he's not funny, in this scene with the dog, that yard sequence, he laughs way too long.
Yeah.
He literally is like,
I was just trying to pet him. Yeah.
It's like, dude, chill.
Yeah, there's a couple other instances where he kind of he emotes for just a bit too long.
Yeah. And finally, one of the things I wrote here, why is the significance of Elm Street in this film? Because it's literally like, ooh, they live on Elm Street.
It's in the title.
But it's never, I mean, I know it's like the title, but I'm like, I'm not saying like, why Elm Street, but more like why? This is a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. In the original, Elm Street has a purpose. In this movie, it's like, one character supposedly lives on Elm Street, and then it's never brought up again for the rest of the film.
Uh-huh.
Like, I needed more like significance to Elm Street.
Yeah, I get that.
It's literally the title.
It's one of those areas where they could have just made
left
a little effort to make it make sense,
or just left it out completely.
Yeah.
Like, I would have been fine with that if they just said, like, all right, we're just not even going to mention it.
Yeah.
Just call the movie Nightmare in Town.
Nightmare on a Street.
Nightmare on some street in the middle of town.
Yeah. So back to the plot. Jesse gets arrested because, like, he's covered in Chris's blood. But before that, like, he goes to Nancy and tells her that, like, or they realize that they're also having the same nightmares. And then she calls Quentin. She's like, hey, can we meet up?
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing, because the next scene takes place in the bookstore. Another kind of thing I liked is that they don't really, in like the original, when someone falls asleep, you know they're asleep.
Yes.
Here, it's like, okay, this guy just like shut his eyes for like 3 seconds, but now he's asleep. I did like that because his computer like just said like going into sleep mode as he fell asleep. I thought that was like a nice little way of being like, okay, he fell asleep without just showing this dude snoring.
At the same time, too, I also liked how they made us as the viewer feel that like we didn't know whether the character was really asleep or not. They did obviously have some visual cues, like some of that, like, and also like the water.
Yeah, the water from the really bad homage scene, and the water trickles up the glass instead of down. Yeah,
stuff like that. But also there were other scenes where it was like, we're not sure, and I think that was a good element.
Yeah,
I will give this movie some props. Also, Chris's death, just going back to that for 3 seconds, all I could think about while watching it the second time was Chrissy Wake Up from Stranger Things.
Oh boy.
That like stupid song. I was like, oh my god, I couldn't help it.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Quinn falls asleep. He sees Freddy. Now everyone we need to know about Freddy knows about Freddy. And while that scene is happening, we also cut back to Jesse in jail. He has fallen asleep. He thinks his bail has been posted, but when he walks out, the wall is just like on his back now. And we cut to it transfers into like the factory, which I thought was a really cool set piece.
Yeah. Yep. I like those set pieces.
So he gets chased around. He sees Chris and Dean's body. There was a good line that I wrote down where he's like, "Oh God," and Freddy's behind him. And he goes, "No, just me." Thought it was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then Jesse dies. Gets
and then he's just fucking murked.
Just or his arm through the chest.
So, 40 minutes into this movie, by this point, roughly 45-ish, we now have our plot structure. It's like a mystery. Jesse dies, and 3 of our 5 main characters are dead, and we've hit barely the halfway point.
Yep. You know what I just realized? Is that the last person who dies in this movie?
That is. It's the last person who dies in this movie. Besides Freddy. It's the last person he kills.
Wow.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. He does not kill a single other person for the rest of this movie.
I mean, I guess we do find out that other people have died, but in our story, yeah, he's only killed 3 people.
Yep.
Weird. I also did find it funny that just the inmate that was with Jesse immediately sees like his dead body. He's like, "Yo, get me out of here. I didn't do this. Like, please."
Well, because they know they're going to see it and be like, "Did you just kill this kid?"
Yeah.
And then he's like, "No, he died on his own.
Look at the kid.
He's got a hole in his chest."
Man, how can you explain this?
That's such a bad beat for that inmate. It's so bad.
Funny enough, that guy was in Final Destination 4, which...
Really?
Yeah. Horrible movie.
Wow. Good to know.
Yeah.
What's his name? Do you know his name?
God, no. All I know is he dies by getting a fire extinguisher launched at him, and it drives him through a fence.
Nice.
Yeah, it looked horrible, though. So, Quentin offers Nancy like his Zonerol, which he calls like speed for ADD kids, which is cool. But this scene is important because he brings up the concept of micro naps, which I thought this was a cool addition.
I hated it
because it's true though. Like what a micro nap is like if your brain has been like functioning for too long, it will temporarily like shut down function so it can recharge. So you're essentially just like you're in autopilot. Like you're not really conscious, but you're awake. And then he does like hint, or he doesn't even hint, but it's kind of like a throwaway line when he's like, yeah, once you hit that stage, like you're going to go into a coma next because your brain is just going to shut down permanently. This is one of those things, like, because I told you before, like, when I watched it the second time, I started to pick up on, like, other smaller things. That's something I picked up on that does come back.
Yep.
So
yeah, I mean, I thought it was like an interesting idea, but it just felt cheap in a way to like, here's the reason that Freddy just starts popping up everywhere, and it's like an easy route for jump scares. I didn't like it for that reason. Although I think like the idea of it is interesting, I didn't like it for the way that they used it.
Yeah, that was my line. I wish they had used it in a better way because if when you use it for like that cheap jump scare, it doesn't look it just loses all of its like oomph. But when it's like, okay, like now these guys like they can get attacked while they're awake. I thought that was like a cool premise where they could have done more. And they did do something with it. So then we get another homage to the original with the bathtub scene.
Yeah, that was really well done.
If you're not aware, Nancy, it was in the trailer too. Just because I'm looking at the thumbnail. It's right there. Yeah, she's taking a bath, falls asleep with her legs spread, and in between her legs pops up the Freddy glove, which is, I think it's cool.
Cool.
It's cool.
Yep.
And then she thinks she wakes up, which again, I like that we don't really know if she's asleep or not.
Yep.
And Freddy brings her to the old preschool where like they had all gone when they were kids. And here I wrote down, if you're not picking up what Freddy's motivations are, you are not watching the movie. He is a creep. Creep is the best way I could put it for now.
Are we going to talk about this now?
No, we'll get to it later.
Upset.
We'll get to it later.
Okay. I'll save my thoughts then for the real like reveal scene.
Mm-hmm. So Quentin and Nancy, they find a this all happened too, like while she was still asleep in the tub, just to wrap that thought up. So she does wake up, and Quentin and her start going through like pictures and old files from like their childhood, and they see a picture of like all of them, Chris, Dean, Jesse from the preschool, and Nancy's mom like tells her like what the deal is from their past. So in this story, Freddy was a gardener at the preschool who also lived there, which huge red flag.
Yeah. First off, no, not a single preschool would ever allow a man to live there. Anyways.
So, and she was like, oh yeah, he loved you guys, but he loved them a bit too much, and he would abuse them. But so I still don't want to bring it up yet, but just so for reference, in the original, Freddy is a child murderer. That is it.
Not a good person.
Not a good person by any means.
Terrible guy. Can we just talk about it now?
We might as well.
We're talking about it. They fucking made him a child rapist.
He is a child molester.
Like, okay, child killer, bad, obviously, not good, but like you didn't have to take it to that next level, because that just makes it a lot weirder.
So it was Wes Craven's like original idea that Freddy would have like that kind of past with the kids. He wasn't just a child murderer; he was also a pedophile, and he scrapped it for the original, which I think was the right choice.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those times where maybe just stick to the original.
Yeah, like the fact that like he worked at a preschool to be around kids, to then sexually assault kids and torture them. Apparently, he also tortured the children. And then like that is just so much more than just being like, oh, he's a bad guy who killed kids.
Yeah. And
it's like, boom, there's your explanation. You don't have to go into this whole thing that like the man loved touching kids. It's like, no, thank you.
Like,
thank
no
you very much.
One's rooting for Freddy. You don't have you don't have to make it like, oh, yeah, here's why you can't root for him. Like, no, he's a fucking murderer. We can live with that. But back to this scene. She tells them that like Freddy just dipped town. And here's my other problem with this scene. You're telling me, as a parent of a child who got assaulted, you're staying in the town?
Yeah, right.
I would have moved across the country. Because their whole thing is like the parents don't want these kids to remember like what happened.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot, but I bring it up again now. How do these kids not remember any of this? There's no explanation.
Well, I mean, I do.
Like, I get they were small, but like, I still have a couple memories from preschool, and I probably would have remembered the creepy gardener who took me in his basement.
Especially if I stayed there and grew up there.
Exactly.
Like, I think other kids from that preschool, it's kind of inferred that they don't live in the town anymore.
Yep.
Why didn't you all just go?
God. Yeah. It's just so bad.
Yeah, I this is where I was lost.
Yeah. All right.
So moving on. We're back at school. Quinn's at swim practice. Nancy's like in a rec room, library, whatever. So she's trying to find like all the other kids in the picture, and she finds out that they are all dead. She does see one kid has like vlogs on his website where basically he just says everything that she's seen, except adds that he was trying to get him to go into the basement. Again, if you hadn't picked up on it yet, you should have now.
Yeah. By now it's, yeah.
And Quentin at swim practice falls asleep, and he is brought to the factory and sees what actually happened to Freddy. The parents, as you saw in the trailer, if you watched along with us, parents tracked him down to that...
Murdered him.
They tracked him down to that factory. Clancy Brown threw a Molotov through the window. And, yeah, they killed him. So, and this was also... This was an issue I had, because Quentin then accuses, like, his dad and, like, all the other parents of, like, killing an innocent man.
Yeah.
Which, on its own, I think that could have been a great idea for a movie.
Oh, yeah.
If they had changed, like, Freddy's background to, instead of being, like a child murderer, child rapist, he was just, like, I don't know, maybe those things happened by accident, like they got scratched against, like, one of his equipment or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I think that could have been a cool, better idea.
Or, like, the kids actually did lie. Mm-hmm. And, like, that's why he... Like, the storyline where... That little storyline where it was like, we could have said anything. We were just kids.
Yeah.
That would have made a much better story than the one that they went with.
Yeah, because... And this was, like, I kind of mentioned it. It's like, we weren't rooting for Freddy. I don't like that they tried to make us, like, think, oh, maybe he was innocent. I don't like that they tried to do that, knowing what we know now.
Yep. How did Quentin fall asleep while swimming?
I imagine he just passed out. Not even.
I mean, was it just from straight up exhaustion?
Yeah,
that makes more sense.
It is funny too, because, like, his coach pulls him out and, like, literally brings this kid back to life, and he's just like, "You okay?
Hey, bud, you all right? I know you just almost choked to death, but we got some swim practice to get back to."
Yeah, man, we need you to get back in the pool. But yeah, it was just funny. He was just like, "Hey, man, you okay? You almost drowned."
2 more questions for this section.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
While we're at it. Who uploaded Marcus's blog video of him getting murdered?
Oh, yeah, that was the thing I didn't mention, too. His last video, he, like, falls asleep, and then his head just smashes into the camera.
Because this would have been an era that they filmed this, that they're portraying, where there's no Twitch.
Live streaming.
You know, there's no live streaming. There's no automatic VODs that get uploaded. Like, someone has to then take that video that you filmed and upload it to the internet. Did Freddy do that? Because, I mean, no one else would have done that.
Yeah.
Also, the vigilante parents was an interesting plot line, but why Freddy didn't come back to try and kill them for literally murdering him? Not sure.
Yeah, that was something I also didn't understand. It's like, your beef is with... Well, I guess Quentin does say it after, that he's after them because they told the truth. But, you know, you still could have, like...
You knew what you were doing was bad.
Yeah, you could have killed the parents.
Yeah.
Not that I want you to kill Clancy Brown, but...
Clancy.
Mr. Krabs. But...
Well, it's a good thing he literally doesn't kill anyone for the rest of the film.
Exactly. But this is where, like, I could not stop thinking of Mr. Krabs saying, "Get out here, Kruger!
Get out here, SpongeBob."
Oh, we also get another homage to the original where Chris's body is being dragged in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
That was all right.
Lots of homages.
Yeah. So they because like Nancy is starting to have like those micro naps, Quinn takes her to a pharmacy so he can re-up on his uppers.
This is my favorite scene.
There's a lot happening here.
Yeah.
So
I just love the shot of Quentin and the pharmacist being like, "Hey man, you just refill it. Just
he's
do
tweaking.
It. I've been taking these for." He's like, and the pharmacist is like, "No." It's just, I don't know why I loved it so much. It was so funny.
It's like one of those things where it's like, because he just goes up there. He's like, "Hey man, I need a refill," and obviously it's like, all right, this kid might be abusing. I feel like I legally cannot refill this.
Yep.
And at no point does Quinn just say like, "Hey man, I dropped them. Like, can I get more? I'm sorry, it won't happen again." Just something like a bit more
believable.
Yeah, reasonable. Instead, no, he looks like he's just tweaking out, and obviously he's not going to get it. While that's happening, Nancy's in his car. It was a weird sequence because she's like on her phone. Freddy's at the window, throws her out the car. She wakes up. She then burns herself to try to stay awake. And all of it, I don't know why, it just didn't sit well with me.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was just weird. But what did sit well with me is once Nancy gets into the pharmacy, it starts like switching back and forth between the pharmacy and the factory.
Mm-hmm.
And we see like, okay, here's the extent of what these micronaps can do. Where like Freddy is impacting like the real world like he can do, because she is technically like asleep and dreaming while awake. But anyway,
yeah,
she gets attacked. We find out that she can pull stuff from her dream into reality, which they do pretty much every movie. So she goes to the hospital. Really nothing happens there besides like Quinn just stealing some adrenaline.
Yeah, how in the world did he steal drugs from a hospital?
It's not discreet either. It's not like it was just like a vial laying out and he just kind of pockets it. Like, no, he opens a drawer and is rummaging around
in a restricted area.
Yeah, you're telling me no nurse, doctor, even just patient just is like, "Hey man, maybe don't do that."
Yeah, it's like these things are plot devices because those things happen, but like in a real hospital, that stuff is locked up like big time, so that no one has any chance of getting in like that.
Oh, hey, maybe this movie is why they started locking up the drugs. So yeah, it was a pretty pointless scene.
And then how did they get away from the hospital?
That's the thing too. So like what happens is like Nancy is about to she's gonna have to go under so that they can like treat her like slash wound, and like she freaks out. So like the nurse takes her mom literally right outside where she's laying and is like, "Hey, we have to put her under. Do you want to just sign here for it?" Yeah. Right outside where she's laying, and somehow Quentin got by and they escapes.
Yep, don't know how.
Didn't make a lick of sense.
Never explained. Like literally, they go back into the rooms like, "Where are they?" And then smash cut to
them driving.
They're just driving.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're driving to the preschool. Quentin sees like a little flash of Freddy, so he crashes his car, and they end up walking the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I did want to point this out, that when they're like, he punches like the glass to the door to like let them into the preschool. Have you ever seen the movie The Nice Guys?
I don't know if I have. It's a great question.
Well, if you've seen it, maybe you know the scene I'm talking about, you listeners at home, but Ryan Gosling, he's trying to break into a bar. It's a comedy movie too, just so you know what's happening. And he's like trying to like wrap his hand up so like he won't cut it when he punches through, but he punches through and like cuts the bottom of his hand on the glass. And he is just like, he ends up having to go to the hospital because it was like a really funny scene. And that's all I could think about here is like, what if he punches through and like just gashes his hand open? He's like, ah, shit, I gotta go. When a movie is that bad, I'm gonna just think of better movies to relate it to.
Yeah.
So they go down to the basement. They find his secret room. And they find pictures of...
Yeah, that's where the big reveal is like, oh, he was right.
He was right. They're child pornography photos, essentially, of Nancy.
How did no one find that secret room? Because they found it. They established in the other things, like, they said he had a room, but we could never find it. These kids found it in 5 seconds.
It was literally just like a plank of wood, just covering like this, I don't know, 4-foot hole. Yep. No one thought like, that doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of this room.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
People are dumb.
Yeah, they find all that stuff. It was upsetting. But they come to the plan that most of these movies come to. Nancy's going to go to sleep, try to bring Freddy out, and Quinn's going to wait by with the paper trimmer. And
that's what that was. I was like, what has he got?
Well, yeah, because if you don't know, it's like, this dude just pulled out a sword.
Yeah, I was like, what in the world was it?
Yeah, no, it's a paper trimmer.
I just like how they win it. Like, yeah, it's like they have kind of a plan, but they really go into it with like zero plan.
It's like, hey, I'm gonna go to sleep, and I'm just gonna grab him, and you're gonna wake me up. It's like,
and then it's like, oh wait, you're both gonna fall asleep because you both haven't slept in days, and he's on drugs. Like,
well, that was the funny thing too, because so he's supposed to sit by and like wait for her to appear to have her. And immediately, as soon as he sits down, he passes out.
Yeah, immediately.
Which, this was, I don't know if it was a direct reference, but I think in almost every Nightmare on Elm Street movie, there's a scene where the protagonist is like, hey, just watch me sleep. And the other person's like, yeah, sure, I got you. And then immediately passes out.
Yep. So, Quinn falls asleep. He immediately gets fucked up by Freddy. Yep.
And this is, I'm pretty sure, the scene where, in real life, the prop hand knife doesn't retract all the way, doesn't go all the way back.
Nice.
So Quinn, Kyle Garner, the guy who actually plays Quinn, actually got cut by the prop. So
nice. Good to know that they're keeping sharp props.
Love that.
God, this movie was just a dumpster fire.
So yeah, then Nancy, like, she falls asleep, I think, and then gets Freddy away, and we go through the whole. There's a lot of creepy lines that Freddy says, which I really wish he didn't.
It was really disturbing.
Yeah, that was the thing I think I wanted to bring up. They replaced all of like the campy lines from Freddy in the original with just disgusting lines.
Yeah, it's like you say no, but your body says yes. It's like, dude.
Yeah, and she like when she first sees him, she's like, "Fuck you," and he's like, "Ooh, all right, a little fast for me, but I can do that."
Yeah, it's just But
yeah,
God,
there is some more references to the original where like she's running in their hallway and it's just like it turns into blood.
Yep.
Which it didn't look great to start, but then like she's actually in like just a pool of red liquid.
Yeah, I did like the whole visuals of this final dream sequence. I thought it was neat.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool. I'll give points to that.
Yeah. So yeah, she's in blood, and then there was a cool shot which of her like falling through the floor with like the blood like erupting but staying at the ceiling, which if you've seen the original, when Glenn dies, Glenn is played by Johnny Depp, if you didn't realize. His death, he gets sucked into the bed and there's like an eruption of blood. This felt like the inverse. She gets spit out and like there's just like the blood doesn't erupt, it like sucks back in.
Yep.
Thought it was okay.
It was fine.
And here is, besides like all of his really creepy lines, here's where like I was like, oh, okay, here's an interesting thought. Freddy was like, I waited to attack you until I knew you couldn't wake up. Because going back to when in the bookstore, Quinn was like, yeah, after the micronaps comes a coma, just permanent sleep. I was like, huh. All right, you actually did something with it.
That I didn't realize that, but that is a pretty decent callback.
Yeah. It gives it a lot more stakes. Like, it's not like you can just wait this out. Like, no, you're fucked if you don't do something. But then Quinn wakes up finally, jabs Nancy with the adrenaline. She's able to pull him out, and Quinn gets fucked up even more.
Dude, how does he not die?
Yeah.
He gets destroyed. And to the point where Freddy says, why don't you die?
Yeah. So, like, in his dream, or when he first sees Freddy, he gets his face bashed in, he gets slashed. Once he's in the real world, he gets stabbed in the chest. Normally where your heart is.
Yeah, so famously, where the heart may lie.
Still alive. And then he goes to finally kill him. But Nancy cuts his hand off. We get the a callback to, I think it was Freddy vs. Jason, where she goes, "You're in my world now, bitch." And then slices his throat with the paper trimmer.
Yep.
Seemingly killing him. But they burn the preschool, and happy ending. Freddy's dead.
Yay.
What's that? No, he's not. Because this movie ends with Nancy and her mom coming back from the hospital. I thought it was a cool shot. They're like standing in front of a mirror, and as Nancy's mom like goes, like reaches down, puts her keys down. As she comes back up, Freddy is in the reflection, stabs her through the eyes. Not the best effect, but pulls her back into the mirror, which I thought was cool. I thought it was much better than how the original ended with the blow-up doll.
With the blow-up doll?
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't need that. Like, you could have just gone without it. Like, I get you wanted to... I mean, this movie was full of callbacks, but...
Yeah.
We didn't need it.
Well, it's like the same thing like with the Friday the 13th, where like, oh, someone is always jumping up at the very end. Or jumping through something. This is one of those things. You gotta tease that, oh, Freddy's still alive. Sequels can happen.
Yeah, well, if they were planning to make more movies, maybe that would have been a good idea.
So, actually, I did see that Heather Langenkamp, the OG Nancy, said she would be down to do a requel, like the Halloween movies.
Interesting.
Which, if she's involved, I got more trust than if Michael Bay's involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was Friday the Jesus. That was Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. Once again, thinking of better movies.
There it was. Freddy gets shat on in the real world. And
he gets fucked
in our real world, we got shat on by the producers and filmmakers of this movie. Yeah, so movie not very good overall, but this wouldn't be a proper Film Box review if we didn't give it an actual rating. So, Connor, what is your rating on this film?
So, I think on Letterboxd I gave it a 1 star, but after rewatching it again today, I will bump it up to 1.5 stars.
All right,
strictly because
I was teetering.
Strictly because, like, going back, I was like, okay, there are some things here that could have been cool.
Yep.
What did you rate it?
Yeah. So I was going back and forth between 2 stars and 1.5 stars, but I think I'm just going to land on 1.5 just because of how much I didn't like. Like, there were some redeeming things. Some of the elements were interesting, but for the most part, the things that made me upset about this movie, just I could not get over it.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, 1.5 out of 5 is a solid rating, which we say solid. It's bad. It's real bad. Don't watch it, please.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. If you happen to see it, hopefully you have the opportunity to turn it off.
Yeah. I think actually at one point this movie was on TV, and I like during this week, like between watches, and I was like, oh no.
This one could have just been lost to the archives if we really wanted it to be.
Yep. Well, that is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. If you like this podcast, you'll love our other ones. And if you liked it and enjoyed it, give us a follow, leave a rating, mention us on social media. All that kind of stuff really helps us out. We appreciate it all immensely. You can follow us on Twitter. It's twitter.com/thefilmboxpod. I also want to thank Josh Woodward for our theme music, Airplane Mode. We love it. It's great. Check out our website. We have a newly designed website. We're going to be starting to post more blogs, more reviews, all that kind of stuff. We have other socials on Facebook. We have Instagram. We have TikTok. We have a merch store on Redbubble, and you can check out our Letterboxd profiles where you can see and keep up to date on what we've been watching and kind of what our preliminary thoughts on films will be. So those are all linked in the show notes. But yeah, no, if you don't have anything else, I think we can properly send this podcast and this movie
to hell
away. Send it back to hell.
Yeah, definitely tune in next week when we talk about a movie we actually enjoyed. Yes. And then we go into our next month, which I'll give a little bit of a teaser. We're going to be looking at some movies from comedy legends, so that'll be fun. Yeah, we're gonna flip. We're gonna go onto the opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah, we're gonna watch some movies we enjoy.
We're gonna watch people not die. We're actually gonna enjoy life.
Yeah, we might laugh a little bit.
Yeah, maybe cry.
And not at the movie.
Maybe cry. maybe bust a gut.
With that being said, this has been the Film Box Podcast. My name's Aaron Souza, and I'm joined by Connor Jameson this time around. And we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
It's a beautiful day, I'm running away. Don't bother to Facebook message or call me, 'cause I'm living life in airplane mode and everything is okay. I just want to play, unplug for the day and live in the moment, 'cause I'm living life in airplane mode, yeah.
Today's a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it'd be fun to have your own talk show, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest way and the best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your shows can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and even more within minutes of finishing your recording. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Let's create something great together.
Following the link in the show notes lets Buzzsprout know we sent you, as well as getting you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, and it helps support our show.
We use Buzzsprout, and honestly, it's really great. I use it to track all of our where we're being listed. We get our own website. It's really just a fantastic service, and I would recommend it to anyone that's interested in starting a podcast.
Buzzsprout helps you get your show listed on every major podcast platform. That takes one of the hardest steps in creating a podcast out of the equation for you, thanks to Buzzsprout's help.
And if you want to upgrade, Buzzsprout has tons of guides to help you find the right equipment at the right price. Plus, it helps you navigate how to do things, how to market your show, how to make money off your show, how to do all sorts of stuff. It's all right there for you to use. Honestly, it's not hard when you have the right partners, and Buzzsprout is absolutely one of the best partners you can have out there.
They care about you. They're passionate about helping you succeed with your show.
So if you're interested in signing up for Buzzsprout, use the link in the description of the show here. Like we said, it'll get you $20 Amazon gift card, and it supports us, and we appreciate it greatly. And now back to the show.